All right, Chris. Since I'm underdressed today, I mean I'm dressed, but just underdressed, and you're sharper than me today. You represent the Academy better. So, being the Academy Chief Operating Officer, why don't you introduce Tavon in our Stocks and Finance course, and we're going to ask Tavon some questions today. Financial advisor Tavon Jackson. We'll ask him some questions today on stocks for our audience, so people can kind of prepare for our Stocks and Finance course. So, you do the official intro. How about that?
Great. Start in a little. So
he said, "Move over, little guy."
right. Don't worry about the height difference there. But Christopher Darden, COO of the J. Morrison Academy. We are here with our financial advisor Tavon Jackson, who's actually, teaching you guys and giving us some insight on stocks and finance. So today, what we want to know first and foremost is, what is a stock exactly?
Great question. So what a stock is ownership. So all these companies that we use every single day, whether it's going to Walmart, buying Jordans, we actually can own these companies. So when we think of stocks, the first thing I want you to think of is actually owning the company. And the way that we own those companies by buying shares. So for every share that we own, we actually have a part ownership in the company. The more shares that we have, the more ownership we have.
So how many shares do companies typically offer?
So they offer billions and billions of shares. So for example, let's look at Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg, he owns most of the shares of Facebook because he's the majority owner of Facebook. But if I wanted to buy, say, one share, I only have a little small piece of the pie, but I still have ownership. So they can offer as many shares as they want, depending on how large the company is. And then when people buy into those shares, that's how the company makes more money, and then when they make more money, you make more money as well.
Okay, so I love ownership. I like to own things. Great. I love the fact that we can buy stocks and, take ownership in companies, especially companies that, I use. Do I have any power in this company? What do I have as, just say I'm a 1% owner, or however many shares of stocks that I have?
Great question. So you have voting rights, so that's the first thing you have.
Okay.
So, voting rights. So you actually will get something in the mail whenever they're coming out with a new product, or whenever they are coming out with anything. You actually are an owner, so you actually have a decision. You get a vote to see, hey, do I want this new iPhone to come out, or do I want this iPhone 8 or iPhone 7? You have voting rights.
So every single stockholder gets a voting right of a company?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you also get an invitation to their shareholder meeting. So they will actually send you an invitation. You still got to pay for the flight and get there and everything, but you have an invitation to the shareholder meeting. So you actually can sit in on some of these large meetings. All the shareholders can sit in, whether you have one share, whether you have hundreds of shares. Like I said, everybody's vote, like I said, is weighed equally. So depending on the person with the most shares may have more voting power than somebody with just one share. But you are able to go to these meetings and sit in and figure out what new things are going on with the company that you invest in.
Interesting. So I have a more macro question, just how my mind works. So when these companies are offering millions or billions of shares of their companies, right, does this dilute the value of the company, or dilute the value of the other shareholders of their stocks? So say, let's put a company on board, Company A, right? So we got Company A.
Let's see what that works for Company A. All right.
Right. So Company A has 1 million, and put a box around it because the Company A is a box company. They make boxes.
All right.
All right. So Company A issues, I guess, 1 million shares, right? They have 1 million shares of their company.
Okay.
Right. So they got 1 million shares. Now, those shares are, just say, $10 a share, right? So that'd be $10 million. Right, $10 a share, cool.
So 10 million shares outstanding that they have.
Okay. So $10 a share. So that's 10 million shares outstanding?
$10 a share.
Times 1 million, and it's 1 million shares.
Okay, so it's 1 million shares outstanding, sorry, but the value of the shares is $10 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they cashed them all out at the $10 price, they would have $10 million worth.
Okay. So now I went and bought, just say, 500,000 in shares at $10 a share would be 50,000 shares, right? So I own 50,000 shares, right?
Okay.
I spent $500,000, and now I have 50,000 shares of the company.
Okay.
And I'm putting you on the spot, but this is what we got to do. So, if this company decides to now, do they have the authority and the right to issue 1 million more shares on top of that million that's already there?
They do. They do. They can issue as many shares as they want. Okay. If they're
Right.
trying to raise more capital, then what they can do is they can issue more shares.
Right. So say, hey, public, we have more shares available than our 1 million we had, right? So if they offer another 1 million shares, now they're at 2 million shares, that means the value of my shares have now been split in half, correct?
Doesn't have to be that way, because the only thing that we really look at when we're looking at the shares, the only thing that drives stock prices is earnings. So people say, oh, I use the company a lot, that means it's going to go up. The only thing that matters is the company making money. So when we're looking at whether our stock's going to go up or it's going to go down, we look at the percentage. Okay. So if the percentage goes up 10%, whether we have one share, whether we have 50,000 shares, it's still going to go up in value or go down in value.
Right. So if they up their shares to 2 million, so now you got 2 million shares at $10 per share, right? So those are available to the market. So that would be $20 million value in shares. So my $50,000 share still remains the same at the $10 rate. I don't lose any money by them offering more shares.
Well, let me mention this. So let's say you had, let's make the math. Let's say you had 10,000 shares.
Okay.
All right, and let's say you had $10,000 worth of the company,
Gotcha.
and you had 100 shares.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So what the company can do is they can do what's called a stock split. So when a company gets really overvalued, such as like how Google and a lot of those companies were getting really, really high, like $700, $800 a share, it made it difficult for new investors to get in because that's a lot of money per share. So what they can do, they can say, hey, we're going to double. So let's say it's $10 a share. So we're going to actually split this to $5 a share. But same value, say you still have 10,000, but now you own 200 shares of the company.
Twice as much.
Gotcha. And when do they typically do this? Well, you said when, I guess it's oversaturated, or?
Usually when the stock price gets a little high. So Google has split maybe 3 or 4 times throughout its career because it keeps going up to 1,000, then they'll split, they'll start at 500, keep going up again. McDonald's has split multiple times.
Okay.
So it's really an internal decision to split.
Okay, so is that an upside or a good thing for me as the investor and owner, or is that a bad thing?
It's neither. So a lot of people think that, oh man, now I had 100 shares, now I have 200 shares. It's really no advantage or disadvantage unless you wanted to buy more of it.
Right.
Maybe you couldn't get the share at $700 a share. Maybe you can get it at $350.
Right.
But your value is still going to remain the same whether it's 100
Still
shares.
got the same amount invested,
Gotcha.
but you have more shares now.
So like if you had one house for 100,000, you had 2 houses for 50,000, you still got 100,000 in the market. So it's kind of got to think of it like that. So.
Gotcha. And it only, I guess, matters when the sales are going up and or down.
Yeah, it all depends on if you're adding in. So let's say, for example, let's say you're doing $500 a month into an investment.
Yep.
And the stock is $100 a share. Every month you're going to get
5 shares.
Yep.
But if the stock goes to say 400 or 500 or 600, that the money that you have able to invest, you may not be able to get as many shares as you want. So
Correct.
it's an advantage when it's split. So now you can get in at a cheaper price.
Yep.
So
Hoping to gain earnings. All right. Well, Tavon, you want to close us out? I appreciate you.
yeah,
This is your video.
No problem. My name is Tavon Jackson. I'm a financial advisor and also the author of an investment book called 40 Acres and Some Dividends. I hope you enroll in our Stocks and Finance course at the J. Morrison Academy, and I'll talk to you soon.
Peace.